Tonight, we'll explore the gentle craft of thatching, the ancient art of weaving roofs from straw and reeds. For thousands of years, people have looked upward at the grasses growing in fields and marshes and seen in them a solution to one of life's most basic needs: shelter from rain, protection from sun, a roof over their heads. Thatching is one of humanity's oldest building techniques. Before tiles, before shingles, before any manufactured roofing material, there was thatch, and in many parts of the world, there still is. Let us begin with the materials. The word thatch can refer to many different plant materials. In England, wheat straw and water reed are most common. In Africa, various grasses serve the purpose. In Japan, miscanthus grass and rice straw are traditional choices. In Hawaii, peely grass once covered the roofs of native homes. In the Netherlands, water reed from vast wetlands has been the preferred material for centuries. Each region developed its own thatching traditions using whatever grew nearby. The best thatching materials share certain qualities. The stems must be strong enough to resist wind and weather. They must be hollow or porous enough to shed water rather than absorb it. They must be flexible enough to work with, yet stiff enough to hold their shape once in place. Water reed, harvested from wetlands and riverbanks, produces perhaps the most durable thatch. A well-made reed roof can last 50 years or more, sometimes reaching 70 or 80 years with proper maintenance. The hollow stems channel water efficiently, and the waxy coating on the reeds helps them resist moisture. Reed grows in abundance in wetland areas, its tall stems reaching 6 feet or more by the end of the growing season. Wheat straw, the stalks left over after grain harvest, makes excellent thatch as well. In the days before combine harvesters, farmers would carefully cut their wheat with scythes, leaving the straw long and unbroken. This long straw, as thatchers call it, could last 30 years or more on a roof. The straw from wheat grown for thatching differs from ordinary agricultural wheat. Thatching wheat is typically a heritage variety, bred for tall stems rather than heavy grain heads. The stalks grow 3 or 4 feet high, straight and strong, their fibers tough enough to withstand decades of exposure. Modern farming methods have made long straw harder to obtain, combines break and crush the stems, rendering them useless for thatching. Some farmers now grow special varieties of wheat specifically for thatchers, harvesting them in the old way to preserve the long, unbroken stalks. This specialized farming creates a small but dedicated supply chain, connecting traditional agriculture to traditional craft. Combed wheat reed, another variation, is processed after harvest. The straw is run through a machine that strips away the leaves and ears, leaving only the clean stems. This material resembles water reed in its finished appearance and can last nearly as long. The harvesting of thatching materials follows the rhythm of the seasons. Reed is typically cut in winter, when the plants are dormant and the leaves have fallen away. The reeds stand tall and bare in the frozen marshes, waiting to be gathered. Workers wade into the shallow water, cutting the reeds close to the ground with sharp blades. In the past, long curved knives called hooks did this work. Today, specialized cutting machines help with larger harvests, though hand cutting remains common in many areas. The work is cold and wet, but the timing is important. Winter-cut reeds have less moisture in their stems and will dry more quickly and thoroughly. The cut reeds are bundled and set aside to dry further. This drying process is essential. Wet reeds placed on a roof would rot quickly, inviting mold and decay. Properly dried reeds, by contrast, become remarkably resistant to moisture. They may sit in storage for months or even years before use, their quality improving as they cure. Wheat straw follows a different timeline. It is harvested in late summer, after the grain has been threshed, but while the stalks are still golden and strong. The straw is gathered into bundles tied with twine and stored in barns where it can cure slowly over the following months. Good storage is essential. The straw must stay dry and well ventilated, protected from rain and rodents. The color of well-cured straw is warm and golden, almost luminous in certain light. This color will fade over time once the straw is on the roof, weathering to silver gray. But during curing and during the thatching process itself, the straw glows with the color of late summer sunlight. Let us now visit a thatcher at work. The thatcher arrives at the building site with cartloads of bundled material. The bundles are called yelms in some regions, sways in others. Each bundle contains dozens of individual stems, all aligned in the same direction, butt ends together. The bundles have been prepared in advance, their stems combed straight and uniform. The roof frame is already in place, a skeleton of rafters and battens. The battens are horizontal pieces of wood, running parallel to the ground at regular intervals up the slope of the roof. They provide attachment points for the thatch. The spacing of the battens varies depending on the material and technique being used. The thatcher will build the roof from the bottom up, starting at the eaves and working toward the ridge. Each layer overlaps the one below, like the scales of a fish or the feathers of a bird. This overlapping is the key to the roof's water resistance. The first row of bundles is laid along the eave. The butt ends point downward toward the ground. These thick ends will be visible from below, forming the neat edge that gives thatched roofs their characteristic appearance. The thatcher adjusts each bundle carefully, ensuring the stems lie at the proper angle. Each bundle is secured to the battens. In traditional thatching, hazel spars perform this task. These are wooden pegs, sharpened at both ends, and bent into a U shape. The thatcher drives them through the thatch and into the batten beneath, pinning the material firmly in place. Hazel is the preferred wood for spars because of its flexibility and strength. The wood can be bent without breaking, yet once driven into place, it grips firmly. Thatchers often make their own spars during the winter months, splitting and shaping the hazel branches into the thousands of pegs a single roof might require. Hundreds, even thousands of spars may be used on a single roof. The thatcher carries them in a leather pouch at the waist, pulling them out one by one as needed. Each spar is twisted slightly as it is driven home, causing the wood to grip more tightly. The motion becomes automatic with practice, a rhythm of reach, place, twist, drive. Some thatchers use wire or synthetic twine to supplement the spars. The material is stitched through the thatch and wrapped around the battens, providing additional security. This is especially common in areas prone to high winds where the roof needs extra resistance against uplift. Layer by layer, the thatcher works upward. Each new row overlaps the previous one by a significant margin, typically 8 to 12 inches. Only the lower portion of each bundle is exposed to the weather. The upper portion is covered by the layer above. This overlapping is what makes thatch waterproof. Rain falling on a thatched roof does not soak through the material. Instead, it runs down the surface of the stems, guided by their angle, sliding from layer to layer until it drips off the eaves. The thatch works like a watershed, channeling water away from the interior. The angle of the roof matters greatly. Steeper roofs shed water more quickly and last longer. A thatch roof pitched at 45 degrees or more will easily outlast one with a shallower slope. The ideal angle allows rain to run off before it has time to soak in. Most traditional thatched buildings feature roofs pitched at 50 degrees or even steeper. As the thatcher works, the roof takes shape. The surface grows thick and even, the stems aligned like the hair of a well-groomed animal. The thatcher pauses periodically to check the work, running a hand over the surface, adjusting any stems that have shifted out of position. As the thatcher nears the top of the roof, the work becomes more complex. The two sides of the roof must meet at the ridge, and this junction requires special treatment. The ridge is the most vulnerable part of any roof, where water might otherwise seep between the two slopes. Different thatching traditions handle the ridge differently. In England, a thick roll of sedge or straw is laid along the peak, then covered with an ornamental cap. This cap might be simple and functional, or it might feature elaborate decorative patterns. Some thatchers take pride in their distinctive ridge designs, creating patterns of scallops, diamonds, or interlocking curves that identify their work. The ridge ornaments serve as a kind of signature. A knowledgeable observer can sometimes identify which thatcher worked on a particular roof just by examining the ridge pattern. These traditions have been passed down through families and apprenticeships for generations. A young thatcher learns not only technique but style, developing personal variations on inherited themes. In other regions, the ridge is formed by bending the thatch from each side over the peak and weaving it together. Or it might be capped with a row of clay tiles, providing extra protection at the most vulnerable point. Each method has its advantages, and experienced thatchers choose based on local tradition and personal preference. The tools of the thatcher are simple but specialized. The legget is a flat wooden tool used to dress the surface of the thatch, pushing the stems into alignment and creating a smooth, even finish. Its face may be studded with small nails or left smooth. The shearing hook trims any protruding ends. The needle and twine attach securing materials to the frame. Each tool has been refined over centuries of use. Their designs vary from region to region, adapted to local materials and techniques. A thatcher's tools become worn and familiar with use, their handles smoothed by years of handling, their blades shaped by countless sharpenings. Many thatchers inherit their tools from mentors or family members, carrying forward both the implements and the knowledge of how to use them. Let us consider the physics of how thatch keeps water out. When rain falls on a thatched roof, it encounters the ends of thousands of individual stems. Each stem is angled downward, pointing toward the ground. The rainwater follows the path of least resistance, running along the surface of the stem rather than penetrating into the thatch. The overlapping layers create a series of barriers. Water running down one layer encounters the next layer below, transfers to its surface, and continues downward. At no point does the water penetrate deep into the material. The interior of the thatch stays dry, even in heavy rain. This is why the angle of the stems matters so much. If they were laid horizontally, water would pool on their surfaces and eventually soak through. But laid at a steep angle, with their tips pointing down, they guide water efficiently away. The natural structure of the stems helps as well. Reeds and straws are hollow, filled with air. This hollow core provides insulation and helps the material resist compression. When bundled together, the stems create a dense but breathable mass. Air can circulate slowly through the thatch, allowing any moisture to evaporate. A well-made thatch roof breathes in a way that modern roofs do not. It responds to changes in humidity, absorbing moisture when the air is damp and releasing it when the air is dry. This breathing quality helps regulate the temperature and humidity inside the building. In summer, a thatched roof keeps the interior cool. The thick layer of material, often 12 inches or more, insulates against the sun's heat. Air circulation carries warmth away before it can penetrate. In winter, the same insulating quality helps retain heat inside. People who live under thatch often remark on its gentle, comfortable atmosphere, the way it moderates extremes and creates a peaceful interior climate. The lifespan of a thatched roof depends on many factors: the quality of the materials, the skill of the thatcher, the pitch of the roof, the local climate. Roofs in drier climates last longer than those in wet regions. North-facing slopes often wear faster than south-facing ones, retaining moisture and encouraging moss growth. But even the best thatch does not last forever. In time, the outer surface weathers and decays, and the roof must be renewed. In traditional practice, this renewal followed a particular pattern. The outer layer of thatch would be stripped away, but the inner layers, still protected and sound, would remain. New thatch would be added on top, restoring the roof's thickness and weather resistance. This partial rethatch might occur every 20 or 30 years. Over the centuries, some thatched buildings accumulated many layers of thatch, one generation's work laid upon another's. The roof would grow thicker and thicker, each new layer adding to the protective mass above. Archaeologists have found thatched roofs containing material hundreds of years old, preserved deep within the accumulated layers. These old layers tell stories about past climates, past farming practices, past ways of life. Eventually, a complete rethatch becomes necessary. All the old material is removed, down to the bare frame. New battens may be installed, and the thatching begins fresh, building up from the eaves once more. This major work might occur once every century or so, resetting the roof for the generations to come. The maintenance of thatch between rethatches requires regular attention. Moss and lichen must be removed before they can hold moisture against the stems. Wire netting is sometimes laid over the surface to discourage birds from pulling out material for their nests. Fallen branches must be cleared before they can cause damage. The ridge, that vulnerable peak of the roof, often requires more frequent attention than the main body of the thatch. Ridge work may be renewed every 10 or 15 years, even while the rest of the roof remains sound. A skilled thatcher can replace the ridge quickly, refreshing the roof's appearance and restoring its weatherproofing at the critical junction. Windows present a special challenge for thatched roofs. Where dormer windows project from the slope, the thatch must be carefully dressed around them, creating waterproof junctions where two different materials meet. These transitions require particular skill, ensuring that water runs smoothly from thatch to window frame without finding a path inside. Chimneys, too, demand careful treatment. The junction between chimney and thatch is a potential weak point, where fire risk and water penetration both threaten. Thatchers build up the material around chimneys with special care, and often install lead or other flashing materials to ensure a watertight seal. Let us think about the people who have practiced this craft. Thatching was once a common skill, known to farmers and villagers throughout the countryside. When roofs needed repair, communities would gather to help. The work was shared, the knowledge widely distributed. A farmer might thatch their own barn or cottage, learning the basics from neighbors who had learned from their neighbors in turn. But as other roofing materials became available, as tile and slate and corrugated metal offered their own advantages, thatching declined. By the 20th century, it had become a specialized craft, practiced by a small number of skilled artisans who dedicated their lives to the work. Today's thatchers serve a different market. They work on historic buildings, preserving heritage structures that have worn thatched roofs for centuries. They work on new buildings designed to evoke traditional styles. They work on luxury homes, where thatch is valued for its beauty and character and unique insulating properties. Becoming a thatcher requires years of training. Apprentices work alongside masters, learning the subtleties of material selection, the techniques of laying and securing, the art of finishing and ornamentation. There is no shortcut to this knowledge. It can only be acquired through practice, through repetition, through the slow accumulation of skill over seasons and years. Many thatchers work in family businesses, passing the craft from parent to child. They speak of their work with quiet pride. They know they are continuing a tradition thousands of years old, linking themselves to generations of craftspeople who came before. The materials, too, connect thatchers to the land. Reeds harvested from local marshes, straw from fields they have known since childhood. The work is seasonal, tied to the growth cycles of plants, to the weather patterns of the region. A thatcher knows the landscape in an intimate way, understanding where the best materials grow, how the weather affects drying and curing, when the time is right to harvest and when to wait. Let us imagine a thatched cottage on a quiet evening. The roof rises in a soft curve above the walls, its edges rounded and organic. No harsh angles here, no straight lines. The thatch flows over the building like a living thing shaped by hands that understood both material and shelter. From inside, looking up, you cannot see the thatch itself. You see only the smooth underside of the roof boards, the rafters crossing above. But you can feel the thatch at work, keeping out the weather, holding in the warmth. Rain begins to fall. You hear it landing on the roof, a soft patter quite different from the hard drumming of rain on tile or metal. The thatch absorbs and muffles the sound. Inside, the rain becomes a gentle presence, soothing rather than intrusive. The fire burns in the hearth, and its warmth spreads through the room. The thick thatch above holds that warmth in, keeps it from escaping into the night. The cottage feels wrapped and protected, cradled by the ancient craft of the thatcher. Outside, the rain continues. It runs down the surface of the thatch in countless tiny streams, guided by the angle of the stems, channeled toward the eaves. By morning, the thatch will be dry again, the water long since drained away. Thatched roofs age gracefully. They acquire character with time. The surface weathers to a silver gray, the color of storm clouds or old wood. Moss may grow on the north side where shade and moisture encourage it. Birds may nest in the eaves, finding in the thatch a material much like their own nests. Insects, too, make their homes in the dense fibers, part of the small ecosystem the roof becomes. Some people worry about fire in thatched roofs. The concern is not unfounded. Thatch can burn, and fires in thatched buildings can be difficult to control. But modern thatchers take precautions. Fire retardant treatments, spark arresters on chimneys, careful attention to electrical wiring all reduce the risk significantly. And there is another consideration. A thatched roof that has been properly maintained for centuries has survived countless threats. The buildings under these roofs have endured because people valued them, cared for them, renewed them generation after generation. The thatch is not a liability but a commitment, a promise to maintain and preserve. In some parts of the world, thatching never faded away. In Japan, certain historic districts preserve traditional thatched farmhouses, their roofs steep and thick against the heavy snows of winter. Communities gather annually to repair and maintain these roofs, keeping the knowledge alive. The work is shared among neighbors, each household contributing labor in a system that has functioned for centuries. In Bali, thatched pavilions open to the tropical breezes. The grass used there grows quickly in the warm, wet climate, making materials abundant. Thatched roofs provide natural cooling, their thickness and breathability creating comfortable interiors even in the tropical heat. In rural Africa, thatched huts continue to shelter families as they have for countless generations. Women often do this work, passing skills from mother to daughter. The materials and techniques vary from region to region, adapted to local grasses and local climates, but the fundamental knowledge persists. In Ireland and Scotland, thatched cottages dot the coastal landscapes. The roofs there must withstand fierce Atlantic winds and driving rain. Ropes weighted with stones sometimes secure the thatch against the gales. These coastal thatching traditions reflect the harsh conditions, producing roofs that are compact and tightly bound. Modern architects have begun to rediscover thatch. Some design new buildings with thatched roofs, drawn by the material's beauty and its environmental credentials. A thatched roof uses renewable materials, sequesters carbon, provides natural insulation. It makes no demands on distant factories or fossil fuels. It grows in the fields and marshes, harvested by hand, applied by craft. There is something satisfying in that simplicity. The thatcher looks at a field of reeds and sees a roof waiting to be made. The connection between material and finished product is direct and visible. No chemistry intervenes, no industrial process, just the plant, the craft, and the shelter that results. The techniques vary, the materials differ, but the principle remains the same. Take what the land provides, shape it with skill and patience, create shelter that works with nature rather than against it. As you rest tonight, perhaps you can imagine yourself beneath a thatched roof. The material curves above you, soft and warm. The rain patters gently, harmlessly, turned away by the patient work of the thatcher. You are connected to everyone who has ever sheltered under thatch. The farmers of medieval England, the villagers of ancient Europe, the island dwellers of the Pacific. All of them looked up at the same kind of roof, felt the same protection, knew the same gentle comfort. The craft continues. Somewhere tonight, a thatcher is preparing materials for tomorrow's work. Bundles of reed stand ready in a barn, their stems straight and clean, cured to perfection. Spars have been sharpened and bent. Tools have been laid out in the order they will be needed. At first light, the work will begin again, layer upon layer, building shelter as humans have built it for 10,000 years. The rain falls, the thatch sheds it away. Somewhere in the structure, a mouse has made its nest, warm and dry despite the weather outside. The roof performs its ancient function, separating inside from out, comfort from cold. The fire burns low, the night deepens, and beneath the ancient roof you are warm, you are dry, you are home. Rest well.